So Google just announced the next 3 versions of Gemma, which is their open source model. They announced CodeGemma, which is a model that is specifically fine-tuned for writing code and is built on top of the Gemma architecture that they released today. So if you don't know what Gemma is, effectively it's the smaller model that they used in order to create their state-of-the-art advanced Gemini models today. So it's like a smaller implementation of the larger model per se. And so the initial release of Gemma was done in 3 different parts. They had 2 billion parameter, I think 7 billion parameter, and I think there was also 13 billion parameter. But they recently released CodeGemma, which is primarily focused on code completion, and we'll be trying this out today. Now it's similar to Llama Code, which was released by Meta, again for the sake of specifically writing code, but this is the first official code specialized model that is released by Google. They also released 2 other models, Recurrent Gemma, which uses recurrent neural networks. It's almost like a memory of the model and hence improves the memory efficiency. So what are recurrent neural networks? Effectively what they do is every time you put a prompt to the model, they will save some bit of the old prompt and also remember some bit of the history in order to give you a better answer. So they released Recurrent Gemma, which is a variant of a model that retains the memory and give you better contextual answers to the model. Again, this is also an open source model. And they finally also released Gemma 1.1, which is an improved version of the initial release, which is Gemma itself. So if you go to Kaggle, you will be able to, log in and download the model. So we actually, tried working Gemma out locally as well when it was first released. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and check out the video to see how you can set this up in your local computer or run this on Colab. Talking specifically about CodeGemma, it has 2 variants, the 7 billion parameter and the 2 billion parameter. These are very small weights, by the way. Models like GPT-4 are trained up to 100 trillion parameters. And other open source models are also in similar lines. So they come in 731 and 128 and so on. But so 2 billion is not very common release of a model per se. But because it's a 2 billion parameter model, it's the state of the art model in that category and provides up to faster code completion. Again, there are more details with respect to what the model is, but I went to Hugging Face and I was able to find the CodeGemma release. So the model is available here to download. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using Ollama to set this model locally, and then we'll try it out. There should also be way for us to run this on Hugging Face. So let me see if I can find something there. And you can see there is the demo available here, which is loading. So you click on the space and you will be able to try out CodeGemma. If you want to set this up locally, you can use Ollama. I have a bunch of tutorials on what Ollama is and how to set this up. But to keep this simple, I'm going to go to terminal and I'm going to go to actual Ollama page on, I'm going to go to actually CodeGemma page on Ollama, and then I'm going to be copying this command. And when you paste it here, you can see it should be able to start downloading the model. I'm going to avoid doing that because I'm not going to be using this model very frequently unless I find that it's interesting. You can see there are also the benchmarks that are available here. Like I said, 2 billion is not a very common model, and CodeGemma is the best model in this category. There is also the 7 billion category where CodeLlama was released, and you can see CodeGemma is not very, very good, but it's better than some of the other models today. So what are the use cases of a small model like this? Well, in scenarios where you want to use these as an extension, so let's say if you use Visual Studio Code and you probably use things like Copilot, they utilize GPT-3.5 API, I believe, as of right now. You can use CodeGemma because this is an open source model to write those code pieces for you inside the terminal. So basically you can build an extension yourself that leverages CodeGemma and writes the code for you inside of the browser. Because the model is small, it's also lightweight. Again, there are details with respect to different versions available. So if you're looking for 2 billion model, 2 billion version, then you can click on the 2 billion option here in CodeGemma and then go ahead and run this command. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to paste this here. It's going to take some time to download. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the CodeGemma 7 billion parameter here, and I'm going to I'm going to start asking questions. So I'm going to ask a very basic question. Can you write a basic snake game in Python? Should take some time, but I'm just going to wait for it to complete. While that happens, I'm going to show you the progress here. You can see it's downloading at 6.3 Mbps, and that basically depends on your internet speed. So if you're seeing slower speeds, that's probably because of your internet. Oh, it looks like the snake game is completed. I'm going to be copying this and I'm going to be opening my Visual Studio Code. Let me share my entire screen. You should be able to see my screen now. So I added the code here and I'm going to click on run now, which should open the terminal and run this code. So apparently I also need to save this somewhere. going to be just saving it in the main folder. And then when I run it, you can see it's not working. It's saying that it accepts one parameter. So it's 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. So let me remove this and try running it now. Missing 1 positional argument. So again, the code is not functional. What I'm going to do is for the sake of testing this out, I'm going to copy the issues that I see here, going to add those here so that I'm able to debug with the model, which is basically what we would also do in ChatGPT. So is it able to get the context or regenerate the code? So it's explaining what is going wrong with this. So it's given me explanation, right? I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Can you share updated working code? So by the way, snake game is like a very common implementation in Python. While the code is extensive, a lot of the models today are able to write it, including the models like G3.5. And I think CodeLlama is also able to write it. So if, CodeGemma is to get anywhere close to CodeLlama when it comes to the functional stuff, then it should be also able to write this code. And most of the models that I tried were able to do it first shot, meaning I did not have to give out errors and then, wait for the model to fix the issues. But it seems there is an issue with Gemma, or maybe 7 billion parameter CodeGemma. And you can see it's running now, but it's running inside of terminal, right? So if I run this again, you would notice that there is something here which seems like a food for the snake, but there's no snake moving, right? So there are a bunch of different errors. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing again. I'm going to say, copy this, go back, can you help me fix these? Also, you can give suggestions to the model. So I'm going to say, can you also use Pygame for it, which is what a lot of other models do when it comes to the game itself, because Pygame enables you to start like a new interface to play the game rather than playing it in the terminal, which becomes hard. So let's see if it's model's able to do that for us, which kind of brings me to the download itself, and you can see it's done. And once this is done, what you can do, by the way, if you didn't see my screen earlier, what you need to do is do Ollama run CodeGemma 2 billion. If you have Ollama installed, then this will automatically download the model. So now that the model is downloaded, you can also ask questions here, and this is running completely locally in your computer without having access to the internet or any external service. Write snake game in Python with Pygame. So it was able to generate a file, it seems, but I think that's all. Let me see if I can redo this. What are you? Let's see if I can ask an open-ended question. So it's not generating anything. So when I write exit, it starts generating the content. So let's just wait for it to write the code, and I'm just going to copy this, post that, and try to see if I can run it in the terminal. So again, it's when I tried doing the same thing here, it's kind of stuck, and I don't know why. Maybe the space has a problem or the model has a problem, I don't know. But anyways, I'm gonna be copying the code that was generated locally here, and again, this was generated by a small version of the model, and the earlier code was generated with the longer version of the model. So I'm hoping this should work. Again, there are a bunch of errors here, so I'm going to be asking follow-up questions. If there are any libraries I need to install, I don't know if it's generating the content, it's not generating the content, but I'm not able to see it. So I'm going to be restarting the model. Okay, I need to run the command again. Yeah, it's not working. It's generating files, but I don't know where those files are. So the 2 billion parameter model is not really doing the thing or trick for us, right? So let's try doing something else. Let's try generate an HTML code for collecting emails and make it look modern. So this is again very basic, honestly, so it should be able to do it because almost all the other models are able to do it, and we should be able to also see the code by going to an email viewer. So once this is generated, I'm going to be seeing if I can visualize the code, but as of the Python code, it wasn't really able to do the trick for me. What it's generating right now is what I would call a style sheet, which is effectively the styling of the HTML page, and it stopped. Let's see if continue can continue generation. So again, it has like a context window with respect to how long a response it can give, and post that it's not even generating the response. So yeah, again, it's kind of stuck. I don't know, it's stuck because of the Hugging Face ecosystem or if it's stuck because of the model limitations, but just to ensure that this is because of Hugging Face, I'm going to be running this in my 2 billion parameter model locally as well, the same command, and see if that changes anything. So I was able to run it, and it's now generating content. It seems that the issue may have been at the space or Hugging Face side, But anyways, you can see it's generating the content. What we'll do is post this is generated. I'm going to be copying this. I'm going to go to HTML viewer and I'm going to paste it here. And again, there's no section to capture emails. It's almost like a banner of sorts that it generated. It has the title of emails, but there's no section to enter the email and stuff. It was able to write the HTML code, but I'm not very impressed with it. Like, it's okay for basic use cases where you just want to use the model for smaller pieces of code. But I don't know, given things like Claude are so sophisticated that can literally write an entire application for you by a mere command. I don't know what use case models like these will have in the near future, because, to be very, very honest, like, who's the audience for this? Is the audience for people who are developing and they just need some suggestions in their code? Well, why wouldn't I use an advanced model to get like in deeper insights in the problems than using like a smaller model like this, which will not give me complete context? Now, if you go to Claude and you type the exact same command, trust me, it does a way better job at generating the code, even better than GPT-4 and all of the open source or even paid models today. So as a developer or as someone who writes code, any other day I would choose Claude over, a local model like this. Now, when it comes to training the model and improving it, so the real use case may be there, right? So let's say I want to write code on Next.js, which is a relatively new programming language or framework per se, right? Next.js 14. And I want to train the model to answer questions for next year. Maybe then I will be able to use like a smaller lightweight model like this and generate or train it to answer the questions better. The second important use case that I just thought about is also in scenarios where you want to create chatbots without really paying models like GPT 3.5. So let's say you have code documentation and you want to answer your end users from the code and generate basic custom code for them, then maybe this is also the use case, even for scenarios where you want to write VBA scripts on Excel and so on and so forth. So there are most certainly certain use cases that this can serve, but I don't see it for people who are developing or writing code per se. Again, and I think that's all I'm going to be covering through the video itself. I hope you were able to find the value with the video and kind of gives you a high level understanding on how CodeGemma works. If there are any questions, let me know. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good one.